Okay, so there was some connection problem, so we had posted that live video previously. Now I'm again started the live session. So we will start from where we left the last time, from page 12. Page 12, third and the fourth paragraph. We will be starting with the Organon of Medicine. So it reads here, I have marked here the third paragraph. It starts from the sentence, "It was evidently no rational principle but merely imitation with the view of making practice easy that seduced the old school into those unhelpful, injurious, indirect modes of treatment. The derivative as well as the counter irritant that led them to this inefficacious, debilitating and hurtful practice of apparently ameliorating disease for a short time or removing them in such a manner that another and a worse disease was roused up to occupy that place of the first. Such a destructive plan cannot certainly be termed curing." Now, here, before starting with this explanation of the organon, I forgot to mention. I had thought of mentioning this before starting the live session. I want to mention here that in my last video also, if any, this is majorly for any of the allopathic doctors or physicians, if they are watching their video, if this video is reaching them, I would like to mention here that even in my previous videos or in my subsequent videos of any kind, whether it's a live session or reel or where we are criticizing the allopathic system of medicine or modern system of medicine, there is nothing personal against allopathy or in general, or against any system of medicine, or against any of the allopathic physician or modern medicine doctors, any surgeons. They are very good doctors. They are the keeper of the healthcare. They are the healthcare providers. So whatever criticization or whatever negative comments or explanations given about their system, there is nothing personal against them. It is just you can say the limitation of that system, which motivated even our founder, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann. He was an allopathic doctor first. He was an MD allopathic doctor. He was so much frustrated with that system of medicine. Then only he left that system and founded homeopathy. So we don't have anything against the system of allopathy or anything against the allopathic. It's just we are Dr. Hahnemann had mentioned, or as we are explaining, we are just trying to say here that we are not against anything. We are just saying that the approach taken there is in a different manner. It is a bit narrower. We are more homeopathy practice takes in the holistic account of the disease, and it takes up the whole picture of the disease. So the difference is only of the approach, how we are approaching the disease, how we are seeing the disease, how we are perceiving. We both are doctors. Even the allopathic doctors are doctors and homeopathic doctors are doctors. They are healthcare providers. They are the basic, they are gods on earth who are taking the care of the health, and they have the responsibility to treat the disease. So their approach is different and our approach is different. So any criticization or that is against the approach they are taking, and we need to correct that approach. And homeopathy, allopathy has its own forte or its own scope in surgical cases, in acute diseases, in other problems, in surgical cases and any trauma cases, in injury cases. They have a very big role in life-threatening diseases, in debilitating diseases like cancer, genetic diseases, many other diseases, and allopathy has a very major role to play. So we are not negating, or we are not saying that they are not competent enough, or we are not saying anything negative. It's just about the approach. The homeopathy is taking a different approach. So in order to explain our approach, we are trying to say that whatever approach they are taking is a bit different from ours, and due to those limitation and that flaw in approach, Dr. Hahnemann has taken out the flaws of that system and explained homeopathy in a different light. And so I'm just trying to say here, no doctor, no allopathic doctor, please don't take any of my comments personally or any attack on any system of medicine. We are, co-creators in creating a very healthy and healthy society. Allopathy has its own role to play and homeopathy has its own role to play. So we together, when we will integrate these both systems, we can create a better solution for all the problems of all the kinds of diseases. So it's nothing against them, and today whatever I'll be taking up, it also contains a lot of, you can say criticizing or, approaching the flaw of the modern system of medicine. So please don't take it personally or otherwise. Just try to imbibe what exactly Dr. Hahnemann is trying to say and what homeopathy has to offer in the world of, in the field of medicine and science. So as I said, from page 12, second paragraph that I read, here he is trying to say that in order just to make the practice easier, because it's very easy to pop a pill. It is very easy, if a patient comes into a clinic and he says, Doctor Saab, I'm having fever, मुझे बुखार हो रहा है, जुखाम खांसी हो रहा है, गले में दर्द है, बॉडी एक है, तो allopathic doctors prescribe them the paracetamol, anti-allergic or any other medicine, whatever, antibiotic or whatever they have a standard treatment for this. But as a homeopath, we take a lot of pains to individualize the case. We take up the case. Every fever case is different for us. For them, every fever case is the same. They prescribe the same antibiotics, they prescribe the same anti-allergic, there's nothing wrong in that. They have this kind of approach. But as a homeopath, we have a different kind of approach. We individualize the case. We see if a certain child is having a fever, what kind of fever he is having. If he is having any chills with it, any other concomitants, whether he is having... The connection goes off in between, so I'm sorry. I'm continuing where I left. So the homeopaths individualizes the case. Every fever case is different. He will take the concomitants, the modalities, when is the fever increases, what complaints she is having with fever. Like in case of COVID, we had different symptoms, what breathlessness, what kind of cough he is having, what kind of breathing he is having, whether he is exhausted, in an exhausted state, whether his what kind of mind symptoms, mental conditions he is going through. Whether I have changed my position just to correct the signal. So whether it's restless. So we individualize the patient. Every fever case is different for us, but for the allopath it is the same. So to make this practice very easy, allopaths choose this unhelpful and injurious indirect mode of treatment that led them to this inefficacious, debilitating and hurtful practice, which ameliorated diseases for a short period of time or removing them in such a manner where a more deadly and worse disease came up. This destructive method cannot be termed as cure. Now here Dr. Hahnemann is greatly unsatisfied with the modern system of medicine. He is saying that just in order to make our practice easy, in order to ease up the prescription, to ease up to how to see the case, they are adopting this mode of treatment where they don't have to observe anything. They just listen to the patient and prescribe the medicine. But as a homeopath, we need to take a lot of pains before prescribing the medicine. Be it a simple case of cough and cold, or a simple case of just a fever, or any simple complaint like body ache or any other headache. So we need to individualize the case. We need to take up the different symptoms and then prescribe the medicine. So for the just to make the practice easy, allopathic has adopted this method. Now moving up to the next paragraph, which starts with that they merely followed the example of crude instinctive nature in our efforts, which are barely successful even in the slighter case of acute diseases. Now here it's a very important point, this paragraph. I cannot read it whole because it's a lot of part and it will take a lot of time, but as I have told you already, I have made my notes. I make my own notes from the Organon of Medicine, and I try to take out the basic gist because it's a very long part. Introduction is very long. There are a lot of to read, and there are footnotes also given below. Footnotes are very long. I take a lot of time reading them, and then I take out the gist to explain them. So the paragraph in this second para, in the last para mentioned on page 12. What's their time to say is, old school also resorts to a practice where disease is left to the whims of the nature. Now, whenever a person is getting diseased, a vital force, our vital force, what is the vital force? Here, for if many other people are seeing the video, vital force is the basic life force which keeps the body running. It is the force which is responsible for maintaining all the bodily functions, carrying out the different cellular functions, the organic functions. This is the force which is running our body. So whenever there is a disease coming, attacking the body through any route, this vital force reacts, and this vital force produces certain signs and symptoms. But so what Dr. Hahnemann tried to say, that all schools resorts to a practice where disease is left to the whims of the nature. Now nature is this vital force, but this was also a greater curse on part of modern physician. What does this vital force do? It tries to annihilate that disease by itself, by its own power. But when the disease is very powerful, acute disease is very powerful, so it cannot do it itself. But the modern allopathic physicians or the allopathic practice imitate this function of vital force. The vital force does not have enough power to relieve itself of the acute diseases without medicine. If any disease which is not treated by homeopathic medicine, homeopathic manner of cure, vital force without external aid of medicines cannot cure any acute or chronic disease. Here, what he is trying to say, that vital force in itself cannot annihilate any disease, whether an acute disease, whether a chronic disease, any acute exacerbation of any fever, headache, vomiting, diarrhea, constipation or malignancy or whatever. The vital force in itself cannot annihilate. You can say it in your example also. Whenever you are having a fever, throat pain or cough or any infection in the body, UTI or lung infection or any infection, it itself does not go away, because the immunity of the vital force is already weakened by the disease force. So in itself it cannot recover from that disease force. It needs an external aid. So that aid, if it's homeopathic in nature, we will talk about it later. What is homeopathic in nature? We have not touched homeopathy yet. We are just seeing what the old school was doing at that time. Old school means the modern system of medicine, the allopathic system of medicine. So whenever this vital force is not able to annihilate itself, so what does the allopath do? He is just imitating. He is just copying the way of the vital force by aiding it to. How does it do? We'll see it later. So vital force cannot annihilate it. So what happens ultimately? It cannot remove the chronic disease. It cannot remove the miasms which is working behind the dynamic cause, which we saw in the last introduction part. What are miasms? These are the main basic causes of the chronic disease. We have not talked in them in detail, but as all the homeopaths must be knowing miasm, what are miasms? So it cannot remove the miasms. So that vital force try to protect the organism, but terminates mostly in death, or it terminates the organism, because the disease force is so. Whenever you are not giving any medicines and leave the vital force on itself to treat that disease, whether acute or chronic, it ultimately will exhaust the vital force. The disease force will exhaust the vital force. It will make it so weak that ultimately the patient will die, because the organs will give up. Slowly the system will go into sluggish state, and slowly the organs will start to give up. They will start to decompose or die, and ultimately the organism might terminate in death. So this is what happens when vital force is taking over on itself to remove the disease force, but it is not able to do it itself, because the disease force is such that it overpowers the vital force. So now in the first footnote of this page 13, what does Dr. Hahnemann say? How can an allopath trust the unintelligent vital force? He is terming here the vital force as unintelligent, because it does not have the intellect, or does not have the judgmental power to apply some curative power to annihilate the disease. So he is mentioning the vital force as unintelligent, which tries to annihilate the disease force but fails to do so. The only gift given by the Almighty God, which is preserving the life in health, is our intelligent, rational, reasoning brain. What is Dr. Hahnemann trying to say here? He is trying to say here that the brain, the intellect, the knowledge of disease, the drug and everything. Whatever the brain, the God gifted brain is the power which when we use, the observing power which we use, we can see what we need to cure, what is causing the disease. Only that reasoning power is our weapon to treat the disease in its whole, to remove it, to cure it. The brain can only conceive the signs and symptoms produced by the disease force in the body and also by the vital force reaction to that disease. What happens? Whenever the disease force is coming, vital force is reacting to it. We only see a mixed picture. We see a mixed picture of the signs and symptoms produced by the disease and also the signs and symptoms produced by the vital force reaction to that disease. So we are seeing a mixed picture. First, what were we seeing? We are seeing the signs and symptoms produced by the disease force itself. For example, a person is coming up with throat pain and cough. That is the disease force. And what is fever? Fever is the symptom which vital force is producing. What is fever? Fever is the immune reaction to any infection. So that reaction, that vital force reaction is the fever. So here we can say we see a mixed picture of all the disease. We see the signs and symptoms produced by the disease and also the signs and symptoms produced by the vital force to that reaction of the disease force. And so we see the fruitless effort of the vital force to bring about the cure. We also see the fruitless effort. The vital force cannot annihilate these symptoms by itself. Now in the second footnote of page 13, which starts with what the vital force does in the so-called crisis. I am just mentioning here the first line so that you can go home and read and see what he's trying to say. You can read this from and match the explanation which I am trying to say here. What and how vital force does in crisis here refers to acute diseases is a mystery like all other bodily process. Our body is a mystery. We don't know what's happening inside. Every single day our cells, our organs are working tirelessly to keep the body working. Our whole life, our heart works, our brain works, our each and every cell works, and it transforms, it dies, and again there are cells reborn. The process is going on endlessly without our knowing. Our breath is going endlessly without our knowing. Our heart is working tirelessly without our knowing. Our brain is working. Our eyes are working. Our senses are working. Even when we are sleeping, our brain is working. Dreams are coming. Our body is at rest. Still our body is working. The cells are working. Everything is in motion all the time, all our lives. So it's a mystery to us. Only God knows how this process is carried out in our body. So it's a mystery to us, but it is always at the cost of. So how vital force is reacting in a crisis, in an acute disease, is a mystery. But this always done at the cost of the other healthy part or organ of the body or the whole organism. The action of vital force to annihilate acute diseases at the cost of making other organs weaker or resulting in death can be compared to the speciality of allopathy. So now he is comparing the vital force action with the modern school of medicine. He is saying that both are synonymous, they are learning from each other and doing the same things. The vital force is a force which cannot in itself annihilate the disease, whether it is acute in nature or chronic in nature. And what is the modern school or the allopaths doing? They are applying certain forceful medicines on the vital force, on the body, to annihilate this imaginary disease which we are seeing in the form of signs and symptoms. They are not able to see the disease itself. They are only seeing the signs and the symptoms. We are only seeing the signs and symptoms. We cannot see the disease, but we can know the origin of the disease. Because to relieve an acute disease, allopathy pursue an increased, more violent activity like vomiting, purgative, diaphoresis, etc., which draws away disease from former to later. So what is happening? What is the allopathy doing? He's applying a very greater force on the body so that this disease can be removed. But what is happening in the process? What is happening? That is what Dr. Hahnemann is trying to say. It is only by destruction and sacrifice of a portion of organism the unaided vital force can save the patient. If death does not ensue, but makes the organism very weak and exhausted. I'll repeat it again. It is only by destruction and sacrifice of a portion of organism that medicine which is being given to annihilate disease is not curing the disease in itself. It is making the other part of the organism very weak because it is drawing the energy from that also. It might be palliating the symptoms, suppressing the symptoms of the, like for example in vomiting we are giving emetics, antiemetics, or in diarrhea we are giving medicines to produce constipation, bile and constipation, or whenever there is a diarrhea we give antibiotics to stop. So suddenly we'll see this motion will stop, but the patient will say that yes doctor, motion is stopped, but now I'm feeling very restless. अब तो मुझे पोटी आ ही नहीं रही, but the organism is not healed completely. He might feel relief of the symptoms. The fever might go by the use of antibiotics, but what will happen? The stomach will become weak. The patient will say, oh doctor sahab, my digestion has become very weak after taking those antibiotics. Or if you give a steroid to save the patient, the steroid will save the patient, obviously, because that's the action, that's the physiological action of the steroid to save the patient. That's a protective hormone. But what would happen later? The patient will experience very weak, he will experience very weakness, or he will say I'll having very hunger pangs, मुझे भूख बहुत लगती है, क्योंकि वो steroid गर्मी कर देता है, कहते हैं ना गर्मी कर दी steroid ने. That's in layman terms I'm telling. But this is what happens, and this we see in our daily practice. I'm saying we are not criticizing any allopaths or their system of medicine, but this is what happens with the allopathic medicines. There is great much side effect because it is making the healthier organs also weaker. It is making the healthy part weaker. It is palliating and suppressing the disease part, but it is also making the part weaker. Yes, somebody is asking to send, so we'll try to do something else, by maybe trying a Zoom session next time. So what happens? This by destruction and sacrifice of a portion of as a here unaided vital force can save the patient. If that does not issue, it makes the organism very weak and exhausted. So the organism might feel very weak and exhausted. The healthy organ will start to get affected. In short, the self-hating vital soul, when attacked by disease, displays to the observer nothing but a mere suffering. The thing is not able to be learned or iterated if the physician wants to truly bring about a cure of the disease. The vital force is only bringing, what he is saying, it's displaying that there is suffering. The patient is suffering due to the disease. Only an observer can observe this thing, and even the allopathic medicine is not actually helping the patient. It's just suppressing the symptom, it's palliating the symptoms. Obviously, it's bringing the symptoms down, but it's not removing the cause. It is making something else. It's making the system weaker. Now we're coming to the last para, when the old school practitioners thoughtlessly imitating the crude. This is the last paragraph line of page 13 and continuing till page 14, first paragraph. What is Dr. Hahnemann saying? The allopathic school imitates this senselessness of vital force, where they use counter irritant and evacuation methods to drive away the initial disease. In acute diseases also, and in chronic diseases, they are using evacuations, they are using diaphoretic, they are using emetics, they are using leeches, they are using bloodletting, they are using many other. Leeches is old method obviously, but they are using bloodletting. They are forcing out the blood. There was a very common practice previously to let out the blood, to let out the bad bile. So these evacuation methods, even now they let out the bleedings. Like if there is a hematoma, they let obviously it has its own implication. It's very important to let out a hematoma, but what actually hematoma symptoms might decrease, but in the process what is happening, it is also making the system very weak. In the second para of page 14, the acute diseases, however short and acute duration, may disappear, but it is not cured. The acute diseases are not cured. When the allopathic drugs are administered to treat the acute disease in process, they damage the other parts of organs more. I'm saying here organs, sorry. When the allopathic drugs are administered to treat the acute disease in process, damage to other parts of organs is more. But if the acute disease is left to seize itself, it will less affect the vitality of the organism. Obviously, if the acute disease is mild in nature and if it takes its own course, it might it might affect the organism less, but that is not always the case. The vital force is always fighting the disease, and we need an external aid to aid the vital force to annihilate this disease. Nothing other than homeopathic, that is the vital force, natural cause, or allopathic mode can do the work that homeopathy does, which sustains strength and extinguish in a direct rapid way. Now he is saying that homeopathic is the only system which is preserving the strength of our organism. The allopaths will, they will say what क्या हमारा सिस्टम ही सब सारा खराब है? ऐसा नहीं है, उनका सिस्टम खराब है. मैंने जिस तरह से कहा, their approach is different. Their medicines are such that they make the organism weaker because they're in crude nature. What we are having the medicines, because we believe in the dynamic origin of the diseases, we also believe in the dynamic power of the medicines. The medicines given by allopaths are crude in nature, which are also producing several side effects. However, the smaller the dose be, because they are chemicals. So anything outside chemical, because our body is all chemistry, all the hormones is chemistry. Our body is working, tirelessly in a chemical. It's a chemical factory. The chemicals are working, and whenever this chemical balance is disturbed, we get diseases. Now, what is the cause behind this chemical imbalance? That is something which we call as miasm, which is dynamic in nature. It's not physical in nature. It is dynamic. It cannot be seen. But the allopathic physician is seeing this chemical imbalance and giving something outside. They are giving chemicals from outside to treat this chemical imbalance, but they are not seeing the cause. What is exactly the cause? The homeopath sees the cause behind the disease. So here only homeopathy, Dr. Hahnemann is saying homeopathy is the only system which sustains strength and extinguishes it in a direct and rapid way. Moving on to the third paragraph of page 14 with its footnotes. In fact, the greater number of diseases, however, are these of a chronic nature. The chronic diseases are similarly not extinguished by allopathy. After some temporary relief, the body is immunized against the medicine. The disease bounces back with greater force. So what happens in chronic diseases with long duration? बहुत टाइम से पेशेंट को प्रॉब्लम है, तो उन केसेस में क्या होता है? एलोपैथी टेम्परेरी रिलीफ दे देगी, बट eventually the body get immunized against that medicine. The medicine's effect will start fading out because the nervous system will be blocked. This is what I have seen personally. This is our observation. This is my observation, and I hope and I know also others homeopaths' observation would be matching with me, that the nervous system gets blocked because they are giving chemicals from outside, and that is disrupting the nervous system of the body. So what happens? The nervous endings become numb, and the homeopathic medicine does not act. Homeopathic medicine will not act, and that allopathic medicine the allopathic medicine is making the nervous system numb. So after a certain time, that painkiller will stop functioning. The fever medicine will stop functioning. The antibiotic will stop functioning. The same antibiotic which you were given previously, now it is not working. The same painkiller you were giving previously, now it's not working. You need a stronger painkiller. You need a stronger antibiotic. You need a stronger antipyretic, because that nerve endings get blocked due to repeated sensitization. This is what is happening. And if any of your my homeopathic friends have observed, if some person is having a lot of allopathic medicines, taking a lot of allopathic medicines, the homeopathic potency will take very long time to work. In those cases, mother tinctures will work more, or LM potency, which can restore the vitality of the nervous system. Here I would like to mention the LM potency can restore the vitality, the vital force. If somebody is worn out due to the disease or due to the action of the excessive allopathic medication, you can use the LM potencies there. Now this is a different topic altogether of LM potency. We'll take up further in future when we are done with the Organon of Medicine. But this is what I have observed. The nervous system gets so desensitized that homeopathic potency does not work there. That 300, 200 or 1M, 10M. If the mental symptoms are working, that might work, but that nervous systems get blocked. It gets desensitized due to excessive use of allopathic medicines. And then in those cases, you can use more of mother tinctures and LM potencies. So the chronic disease does not go away. It is there. For example, here the example is given in the footnote about a treated artificial ulcer, which when suppressed by an allopathic medicines, which is and shadowed by a chronic disease. You give the allopathic medicine to treat an ulcer, but what happens? The ulcer will stop discharging, but it will convert into a chronic disease, and the body gets accustomed to the pain due to the ulcers. The ulcers weakens the body, and the chronic affection is also aggravated. The ulcer तो वहाँ पे है ही है, वो दवाई हम दे रहे हैं अल्सर ठीक करने के लिए, वो थोड़ा सा ठीक हो रहा है लेकिन पूरा जा नहीं रहा है, तो वो क्या करेगा, वो बॉडी को वीक कर रहा है. प्लस ड्यू टू द सप्रेशन ऑफ द मेडिसिन ऑफ द अल्सर some other chronic malady will also develop. So the disease is progressing here. The ulcer is not going away. This is an example given by Dr. Hahnemann about a fetid artificial ulcer. So you are giving medicine to treat the ulcer, to cover up the ulcer, but the ulcer is not getting covered. The discharge is getting blocked. It is getting healed. Again, the ulcer is getting back because we are not hitting the cause. The allopathy is not hitting the cause. So what happens? The ulcer will weak the body, and the patient will get accustomed to the pain, and in response to the suppression due to the allopathic medicine, there will be a next chronic malady which will be developed. But all old school, what it will be, it is an outlet of materia peccans. But they will believe that it's okay. Even if the ulcer is not getting healed, he'll say that materia peccans. What is materia peccans? That imaginary cause of disease, that imaginary physical cause of the disease, that is going away due to this ulcer. So this is what covering up mechanism the old modern medicine system uses. It is now page 15, para 1 and 2. Page 15 we are moving to para 1 and 2. It's a very long paragraph. The mentioning here is the same. Here in this whole thing, Dr. Hahnemann is just you can say ranting about what the old system is not capable to do. Old school is aggravating the chronic disease by evacuation and also at the cost of strength of the organism. But when the disease starts to threaten life, the unintelligent vital force diverts the chronic disease from very important organs to less important organs. But in this trend, it is defeated by disease leading to death. What happens when there is a chronic disease affecting the vital force? What will vital force try to do to save the organism? It's seeing the cancer is developing. The cancer has developed. What will the vital force do? It will produce a metastasis. What is happening in metastasis? The disease is being moved from the core to the surface. The vital force is trying to save the organism. What is this intelligent vital force trying to do? It has certain intelligence to save the organism, because the main function of the vital force is to sustain the organism. So what this seemingly Dr. Hahnemann is saying unintelligent, because it cannot annihilate the disease force, but it has the intelligence to save the body itself. So what will it do? Without the aid, even if after giving the medicine the disease is not going, any chronic disease is not going, any autoimmune disease is not going away, any genetic disease is not going away. So what will the vital force do? It will try to move that disease from core to the surface by producing a metastasis, by producing an eruption. If there is a septic fever coming up, you see whenever there is an eruption broken out, that septic fever will go down, because that some outlet has been provided. Some disease, that disease has been provided a outer surface to express itself. So in many chronic diseases or in deep-seated diseases, you will see this kind of things. When that disease will move out to the surface, the core organ will be saved, the liver will be saved, the kidney will be saved, the heart will be saved, the brain. For that, some other disease will come up in the core. But what will the allopathic physician see? Oh, this is a new problem coming up. We need a new medicine for this. You are already giving a medicine for the chronic problem, and again for the new ailment that is coming up, you are giving that second line of medication. No, but homeopath does not need to function like that. He needs to see this is a reaction. Even when you are giving homeopathic medicine, if this kind of things are occurring, you will see that the organism is trying to save the core. The homeopathic medicine is trying to save the basic organ, and in that process, the disease is being carried out in the to the surface of the body. So here, what Dr. Hahnemann is trying to say, that allopaths, they treat every disease as a separate entity. अगर फीवर है, फीवर के साथ आ गया, फीवर की दवाई दे रहे हैं. अगर उसके साथ उसको हार्ट प्रॉब्लम हो गई तो हार्ट की अलग दवाई देंगे. दिस इज नॉट रॉन्ग. आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि जो फीवर की दवाई है वो हार्ट में काम करेगी, बट वी नीड टू टेक द टोटलिटी. We need to see if the fever is coming, if the fever and heart problems might be linked somewhere. Maybe the fever is coming out because of the heart problem, the immunity is low, that's why a fever is coming. We'll try to see like that. We need to see the holistic picture, and that's what is lacking in the old school of medicine. They don't see the whole picture. They take different parts and give different medicines for it. Moving on to the next, because my time, we have 10 minutes left. We can extend the session for 5-10 minutes, but we need to move on also. So here, the unintelligent vital force, even when we are applying any homeopathic medicines, this kind of action we can see, where the vital force tries to use that increased power of homeopathic medicine to drive over the disease to the outer part, or also vice versa can occur. There is a part on the that occurs in the allopathic system of medicine. When there were disease on the surface, you give a medicine, it gets suppressed and goes to the core. स्किन की प्रॉब्लम थी, उसको दबा दिया, उसको लंग्स में इन्फेक्शन हो गया. स्किन की प्रॉब्लम थी, उसको दबा दिया, उसको किडनी में प्रॉब्लम हो गई. स्किन की प्रॉब्लम थी, उसको दबा दिया, उसको मेंटल प्रॉब्लम हो गई. This happens with old school of medicine. But what happens in homeopathy? If you're giving a homeopathic medicine to help the vital force, it will divert that core, that deeper disease state to a more outer presenting part, like the skin or the hair or some skin itchingness, or in the subcutaneous layer of the body, or into a fever. This is what homeopathic medicine does. But what does allopathic medicine do? It is suppressing the disease and moving the disease to the core, from the surface to the core. It is making the disease deeper, and it is bringing up even to the mind symptom, the mental symptoms gets affected. Moving on to page 15 and 16, para 1. Allopathy not only misjudge the power of vital force, but also increases the intensity of the disease against the hope of curing the disease. It is increasing the disease by its medicine. Same concept of vital force, pushing this whole now page from 15 to 16 to 17 to 18 until 19, this thing given in italics. No, the true healing is that Dr. Hahnemann is saying the same thing again and again, where he is saying that it is pushing chronic disease to the surface, seat of disease. Allopathy pushes the disease, acute disease, to the core. Chronic nausea is aggravated by medicine. So this ministre naturae, what is ministre naturae? Here is mentioning the word ministre naturae. Ministre naturae is helping the natural vital force to annihilate the disease. There is a word mentioned here, ministre naturae. I can read here one paragraph, page 16, second paragraph. When the disease natural force propelled blood into the veins of the rectum or anus, blind hemorrhoids, the ministre naturae, that is the allopathic medicine, under the same delusive idea of assisting the vital force in its curative efforts, applied leeches, often in large numbers, in order to give an outlet to the blood there. But brief, often scarcely noteworthy relief, but they were weakening the body and occasionally still greater congestion in those parts, without the slightest diminution of the original disease. Example is being here given. Vital force endeavored to subdue the violence of dangerous internal malady by diverting blood by means of vomiting, coughing. Old school physician Deus Natura made haste. Old school physician Deus Natura. This is the Latin word used here. And ministre naturae, same thing. Allopathic medicines. The copious venesection, which was very productive of injurious consequence and papillary weakening of the body. That's we have already mentioned. The allopathic medicine is increasing the disease, weakening the body, and ultimately leading to the death of the organisms. So this italics I need to read, because this is very important. No, the true healing art is that reflective work, the attribute of the higher powers of human intellect, of unfettered judgment and of reason, selecting and determining on principle in order to effect an alteration in the instinctive, irrational and unintelligent, but energetic automatic vital force, when it has been diverted by disease into abnormal action, and by means of a similar affection developed by a homeopathically chosen remedy, to excite in it a medicinal disease somewhat greater in degree, so that the natural morbid affection can no longer act upon vital force, and thus freed from the natural disease, has now only the similar somewhat stronger medicinal morbid affection to contend with, against which it now directs its whole energy, which it soon overpowers, whereby the vital force is liberated and enabled to return to the normal standard of health and to its proper function, the maintenance of the life and health of organism, without having suffered during this stage any painful or debilitating attacks. Homeopathy teaches us how to effect this. Is saying here that homeopathic way of selecting the remedy by seeing the totality of the symptoms, by applying a medicine to the law of similia similibus curanter, by producing an artificial disease greater than the normal disease which is attacking the vital force. We're annihilating by increasing the power of the vital force. What is happening when the vital force is, producing signs and symptoms in response to the disease force? What we are doing by seeing those signs and symptoms, we are selecting a remedy which can produce the similar symptoms in that organism to the law of similia, and we are giving that medicine. That medicine will increase the power of a vital force which will annihilate the basic original disease, and only that disease will remain which is being produced by the drug, the homeopathic drug, and that can be very easily overpowered by the vital force itself. What is happening? Disease force is attacking the vital force, making the organism weaker. Vital force in itself cannot annihilate disease. We are choosing a homeopathic medicine which can produce similar signs and symptoms. Like if the patient is having fever, cough and cold, we are producing like a drug like ferrum-phos or anything like belladonna or whatever, which is matching with the congestion, with the redness of the belladonna, with the hot head of the belladonna, with the restlessness of belladonna, and we are giving that, selecting the belladonna. That belladonna, what will that belladonna do? In potency, it will increase the power of vital force. It will increase the vitality to the sentient faculty of nerves, which are mentioned in the aphorism ahead, and we will increase the power of vital force, and we will annihilate the disease from the body, which will annihilate the disease from the body. The vital force will annihilate by using the power of homeopathic medicine, and the only disease which will be left is the disease drug picture which is produced by the drug itself. That is very mild in nature, just to increase the power of the whatever it is producing those symptoms, and after some time it will come down on itself. So this is the power of homeopathy in against the power of allopathic medicines, which make the organism more weaker, which increase the intensity of the disease, which aggravates the disease by providing only temporary relief. They are making the organism weaker and weaker and weaker, and the chronic disease goes on for years. This is what is being done, and this is what homeopathy can do, and this is what Dr. Hahnemann advised in this introduction part of the Organon. So we'll end it here today. I hope many people would be watching this, and I would like to have feedbacks from all those people who are watching this session. Did you understand the Organon in a better way or not, and what improvements I can do to make it more a better session? There is a problem in this link thing, so next time I'll try to do a Zoom session if possible, because this live session is creating some problems. There is some connection problem also, the connection goes off in between. So this was all for today. So thank you again. I'll keep posting about the details of the next live session, next session about the Organon. I have a group made also in WhatsApp. You can WhatsApp me on the number that's 0897937724. You can WhatsApp me if you want to join in for these Organon sessions, and we can have some inputs from other people also. They can provide their own experience at the end of the session, obviously, because initially I put a lot of effort to make the notes, so I try to explain it in my own way, by my own wisdom, my experience, and then more people we can take in and have their inputs also on the Organon. Please do give your feedback on this session, and thank you so much, very much. Good afternoon and take care. Bye.